Okay, good evening, Vietnam. This is Ronnie Yumbers, your host. I serve with the 101st Airborne Division, B Company, 1st of the 502nd Infantry, from December 1967 to December 1968. Welcome to Veterans Live Show. Tonight, we have a very special guest, the Executive Director of the 101st Airborne Division Association, Randal Underhill. This is a great time to have him on because the Army is just, I guess, okayed an air assault badge for the 101st Airborne Division and the 1st Cavalry Division. It's only 50 years later that they get around to these things. It's really amazing. But at least they recognize a new tactic in air, I guess, air mobility and ground war at the same time. So let's bring Randal into the show. Hey, Randal, how you doing?
Hi, good evening, Ron. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it, man. This is really a good first time situation where we had somebody with an association so big. Could let us give us a little background of your service, and then we'll go from there.
I am retired from the Army. I spent more than 24 years, almost all of it with the 101st Airborne Division. I was kind of an oddball as far as my time spent in the Army. It was mostly with the 101st. I started out in 3rd Brigade with 1187 for the Gulf War. Stayed there 5 years before I went to Korea and spent a year with the 2nd ID and was sent right back to Fort Campbell, where I served as a Pathfinder for 3 years before drill sergeant duty. And at the end of my drill sergeant duty, it was right before 9/11. And I was sent back to Fort Campbell to take a platoon in Delta Company 2187 Infantry, where I went to Afghanistan and Iraq with 2187, ended up in Charlie 2187. But predominantly for the next 10 years in 3rd Brigade, going fighting the global war on terror between Iraq and Afghanistan. So retired in 2014 after a tour as a senior military instructor at Austin Peay State University, where we put out what I like to think of as some of the greatest cadets that would become lieutenants in the Army, and was lucky to find the 101st Airborne Division Association soon after I retired.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have a great repertoire here to up your years of service, different places, mostly with the same division, but different duties. And perfect guy to be executive director of an association with so many people in it. How many people we have in the association now? What's the current membership?
We hover right around 7,000 people on the rolls. It kind of fluctuates up and down. I think by last count, we were about 6,800 active members of the association.
I see. Yeah, there's the guys who join and never do anything after that, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that join, and particularly like people who join while they're on active duty. They join, they're part of the association while they're here in the division, and it takes them some time, usually until they retire, and they come back and kind of join the association. As they get to my age, their children are largely self-sufficient out of the house, and they're not trying to work as hard as they can to make a living. So they kind of come back to the association right around 50.
I got you. Okay. So the big event is coming up in June, late June, the 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And Fort Campbell, the presentation of the air assault badge. Give us some background and the update on the latest. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. So this is a program that is really the 101st Airborne Division's program. Last October, the association was approached to help the division make this happen. And it goes back much further than that, I believe even in the mid-90s. There had been a movement to retroactively award Vietnam veterans from the Air Mobile Division's air assault wings. And the Army had for many years not really pursued it. But this past October, I was contacted by a lieutenant from the Division G1 awards, and the Department of Army had authorized the division commander for the 101st Airborne Division to award Vietnam veterans from the 101st a honorary air assault badge. And what its really intent is to recognize the tactics, the techniques, and really the legacy of the air mobile soldier in developing what would later become in 1974 air assault. So they announced the program in Veterans Day of 2020, and it's essentially open to those from the 101st Airborne Division and the 1st Cavalry Division, 1st Air Cavalry Division that served in Vietnam from 1965 to 1972. It actually goes all the way back to 1965, which predates the parenthetical designation of air mobile, because even back in 1965, when the 1st Brigade Separate, which deployed ahead of the 101st Airborne Division, when they were in Vietnam, right, they were developing these tactics while in combat. So, famous people like then Lieutenant Colonel Gunfighter Emerson developing the checkerboard technique, which was used very effectively by the division. Those tactics and procedures would be further refined as the division stayed in Vietnam and really formed the basis for air assault skills as the division transformed from an airborne division for a very short time to an air cavalry designation, and then the 101st Airborne Division Air Mobile. It kind of coincides with 1974, with the final units from the division coming off of jump status, that the Sabalowski Air Assault School is created at Fort Campbell. And at that time, the Air Mobile badge was really only authorized for graduates of the school to wear while they were assigned to the 101st Airborne Division. A few years later, the Air Assault School was officially recognized by TRADOC. Ever since then, has kind of been the center, if you will, for air assault training and doctrine for the Army. There are several different air assault schools. There's one in Hawaii. There's one in Fort Drum. The Air Assault School is also ran by the National Guard, but really the center for air assault training and doctrine comes from the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
That's
I may have lost you, Ron. Veterans who are interested in applying for the badge, there's an application that's available on the 101st Airborne Division website. It's at www.screamingeagle.org. You can get to it by clicking on the Air Assault badge, which is on the home page, and it'll take you to a downloadable form. Those forms have to be in for this year by May 1st, and that is to allow the division to create all of the certificates needed for Week of the Eagles. So Week of the Eagles runs from June 21st to June 25th, and the honorary air assault badge presentation is a large part of that, and it's scheduled for the 24th of June following the division review. Division review starts at 9:30. And around noon at the Air Assault School, a barbecue and award ceremony for the Vietnam veterans who are receiving the honorary air assault badge, as well as a recognition of the 30th anniversary of the Gulf War, is going to go on there at Fort Campbell at the Sabalowski Air Assault School. We talk about air assault doctrine. Really, Vietnam was like the the genesis of air assault doctrine, as the use of helicopters to overcome the terrain was heavily used by the United States Army. The First Air Cavalry Division came in very early in the war, right, the first divisional unit to deploy. And the 1st Brigade of the 101st actually secured the division lodgment for the 1st Air Cavalry Division. But the first team got right to work, and it was some very early trial and error that further refined the use of air mobility over the Vietnam War until the end of the Vietnam War, when American troops predominantly left by 1972. The use of helicopters for mobility of soldiers, to bring aerial rocket artillery to better spot for the field artillery that's on the ground, bringing in supplies, evacuating the wounded, and really just being able to free the ground soldier, the combat infantryman, from the constraints of terrain was really quite revolutionary. And it's really looked at, I think, as a further extension of airborne warfare from its genesis in World War II throughout Korea, and further defined as we get into the Vietnam War. The benefit of the helicopter being that not only is the combat soldier inserted by air without having to negotiate all that terrain on foot, but also that they're able to be picked up, repositioned, resupplied, or further reinforced by air. And it's really the bringing those components of the air and the land that make it a three-dimensional battle what drives air assault. We got some photos from the division, the 101st Airborne Division from Vietnam. If you want to bring those up, we can kind of look through those and kind of chat about those photos. So this photo is it shows a member of 1st Brigade Separate. These photos were actually sent to me by a member of the association who, when he had left Vietnam from 1st Brigade Separate, he had worked in a headquarters apparently, but he had pages and pages of official reports and public information office photos from the 1st Brigade Separate from their tour. And he had left, and as he was thinning out his things in his home, he thought that the association would be the proper place to send those. And when I got them, I was ecstatic. And I actually called the Don F. Pratt Museum, and I've since given them all these photos and documents for the records. But that photo shows the urgency of the moment when that aircraft touches down and all those soldiers in the back with everything got to get off. It's not clear whether this is under fire or not, but one would assume by the hurried position of the grunt getting off the door that it's certainly not a permissive environment where he's getting off. The Hueys back in those days went through several generations of Hueys. This is another photo from 1st Brigade Separate that shows them, getting off of an aircraft. And I kind of tend to think that this is not directly under duress, because it looks like the helicopter's on the ground. And you find in some of these later photos where the aircraft is hesitant to touch down on the HLZ, that, troopers are just kind of hopping off the skids from various heights to get onto the ground. You'll notice that the aircraft brings in combat-equipped soldiers with a fighting load and what they need to sustain them for normally about 72 hours, I believe, is kind of the gold standard of how much stuff you carry. But the great thing about helicopters is they can come back in and bring more equipment, more reinforcements, and more supplies to you. So the fighter can go in lighter with a lighter combat load to make them more effective and be resupplied by the aircraft or repositioned. It was a definite culture change in Vietnam as the 101st, which were proud paratroopers, and many to this day still are proud paratroopers. But the air mobile concept really came about prior to the division deploying. The movement was made before the division deployed, as early as 1967, to transition the division to an air mobile division. The 1st Brigade separate, which the 2nd and 327 would have been already deployed, were also transitioned over to air mobile infantry. But the soldiers pretty much predominantly remained as paratroopers and airborne qualified while they were fighting, and a lot of the airborne spirit was continued and transitioned over to the air mobile infantry units after the division made the transition. Probably one of the most key elements of the current division, and what probably really made a huge impact in Vietnam, were the medium lift and heavy lift capabilities that allowed the division to move masses of soldiers into terrain that otherwise would have taken a lot of effort and a lot of probably lives to get to. In this case, the CH-47, which is still heavily used in the division, is bringing in soldiers or replacements. Let me look real quick. I believe this is Firebase Bastogne. I can't identify the exact unit or the date. This photo came from the Don F. Pratt Museum out of their Vietnam archives. But it's a really good indication of just how good a pilot has to be to land a large aircraft like a Chinook in a very small HLZ, like many of these fire bases had. And you notice, they've dozed it, they've cleared it off as much as they can, but that unless it's mud, that's going to turn into a very large brownout cloud. So it's some very good flying, and continues to be some good flying. I've seen a lot of aircraft doing very similar maneuvers in Afghanistan to get soldiers in to the mountains of Afghanistan, where otherwise it would take them a long time to walk to. So this is another photo that it shows a troop insertion, and you notice that it looks to me like this was not an HLZ, but was cleared probably by explosives or by B-52 or by field artillery, where they just fired enough ordnance into an area to knock a clearing in the trees to bring in the aircraft. The Hueys, would bring those guys in and get them as close as they possibly could with the constraints of the enemy and the time available. But, this was oftentimes, in my dealing with veterans from the 101st, this was kind of probably the norm for how they got off the aircraft. And, they bring in, they pause, you jump off, and barely visible in the back, you can kind of see a soldier from the opposite side of the aircraft scurrying away out from underneath the rotor blades. Hueys have become kind of the symbol of Vietnam because it was so prominent in its use, and it was really a transformed the way infantry got around in Vietnam. Aircraft in today's division and in Vietnam also played a key role of logistics. The ability to reinforce soldiers, is transformational in a soldier. A soldier that believes in the supply chain doesn't carry everything they own on their back. They go in with weapons, ammunition, what's required for the fight, and they really key in on those aircraft bringing the supplies. Yes, Ron.
Yeah, let me. Yeah, here we go. Ready for this? Most important. What was the most important thing on the slick or the Dewey, whatever you want to call it, for the troops in the field?
I don't know, Ron. Tell me.
Mail.
Mail? Yeah, that's true. That's
mail. Mail, and then came ammo. Then came replacements. Then came food, and I don't know after that. I don't know what came out, but everybody was looking for letters or care packages from home.
That particularly in the Gulf War, it was very similar. I mean, the aircraft had changed. We'd transitioned over to UH-60s, but in the 101st Airborne Division in the Gulf War, everything came by, we called it the hook, whether aircraft flying in, mail, water, food.
Yeah.
It was all by aircraft. And mail was one of the very popular things to come in on those aircraft.
And the other one was reinforcements and or replacements.
I noticed the C rations kind of getting chucked out of the aircraft. It was my experience. You know, we did not do a resupply under fire in Desert Storm in my particular unit of food. Most of our aircraft was sling loaded in, and particularly in Afghanistan, sometimes they would free drop loads to some of the austere locations. But that use of the helicopter to provide logistics was really, like I said earlier, transformational. You know, it gives a great amount of confidence to know that aircraft are going to get to you and they're going to bring you what you need.
Now, here was the big one, though. Everything we just mentioned was incoming. Mail, ammo, replacements, reinforcements, you name it. But the best one was who was getting out of that on that aircraft and getting out of the war.
Yeah, it's you know, but the when you look at statistics, and I don't have the exact statistics in front of me, but I know that it was actually very high, despite what the media would have you believe. In Vietnam, if a guy was treated and evac within that first hour, it was a very high probability that he was going to survive his injuries in most cases. And I think that that golden hour has been really refined now, and it's very high. It's if the medics can get to you and treat you and get you on an aircraft and get you to the next level, it's a very high probability of survivability, and that really comes from those aeromedevac aircraft getting to the point of injury very quickly, and the capabilities of those medics on the ground to treat and stabilize injuries.
And yeah, and also you know, I don't know. This is for me, from my own point of view. I think the type of injury mattered in the Gulf War, Sub-Asian War, whatever you want to call it, Afghanistan, post 9/11. There was a lot of IEDs. We didn't have that many. We had what we called booby traps, and the destruction of the body of the troop was, you know, right on the edge of life and death. Whereas most of our guys were hit with either shrapnel, which was sometimes really extreme, or bullets. So I think that made a big difference in the survivability up from World War II and Korea. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, developments in body armor in the last conflicts have made a huge improvement in survivability. Sadly, the type of weapons used that's why you see a lot of amputees now from Afghanistan and
right,
particularly that survived the war. Is the development in body armor does a really good job of protecting your vital organs, but you know your extremities are still exposed, and that device is devastating. So, but you know those guys are you know today pretty well assured that if the injuries are survivable, if they can get them on an aircraft, you know, within that first hour, that they stand a very good chance of survival. And that's a testament to those air crews,
absolutely,
medical personnel that are in those units. You guys didn't have to wear body armor all the time, did you, Ron?
And my hats off to those medevac guys. Let me tell you that.
In Vietnam, did you wear body armor all the time?
No, we actually put it on in base camp and for show. In the field, forget it. It was too hot. Too hot.
Yeah, it is extremely hot. The difference in, probably the biggest change has been the advent of ceramic armor that can withstand an actual bullet strike to protect a person. So, I'm sure the soft armor's gotten better, but it's really those ballistic plates that protect you from a projectile that make a huge difference. So this is a photo of a CH-47, or it could be a 46. I think it's a 47. It's a little bit too far away to really make it out for certain, but I believe it's a 47 flying into fire support base Gladiator. And it's one thing that's really easy to see is, inclement weather, monsoon season, that's going to create some serious issues for any type of vehicular traffic, but those aircraft can come in and terminate a hover and still bring their supplies.
Where where that picture was taken?
Fire support base Gladiator. I'm not sure the year. I don't know what unit it would have been. I believe this is a late, just my belief. I believe it's a later picture, probably post 67, 68, because it's color. Most of the earlier photos are all black and white photos, but probably 68 fire support base Gladiator. And I was just saying, I mean, it could be a 46, but I think it's a 47. It's just a little bit too far away to see. But there again, troopers of the 101st being their lifeline coming by aviation, resupply, ammunition, and your mail.
Medevac.
Yeah. I'm going to say that place turns into a mud pit pretty quick. First drop of rain. Just looking at that photo.
That's great that you had these. Yeah, they all do. Yeah, it was seasonal too. It came from like February till like the end of May. Was up north, but down south, it was a little less rain. We got there, it was dry December, January, February, and then February got up north. We moved right for Tet, and January 68, we got there early January, and they knew it was coming, so they shipped the 2 brigades up there, and the weather was bad. I have pictures of myself with a t-shirt, a jungle sweater, a field, the fatigue jacket, the shirt, whatever they want to call it, and a field coat, field jacket on, being 40 or 50 degrees, soaking wet, with your feet wet all night, sleeping in the rain, cold. That was crazy.
My dad was actually my dad was actually a Marine up in I Corps in 67, 68. And that's one of the things that he told me was, you think of Vietnam as being hot, and he liked to froze to death on some of those fires. It was so cold up there and just wet and miserable.
Exactly. Yeah. That was really good. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Got one photo with his sweatshirt underneath of his fatigues. This is a pretty interesting picture that kind of shows an aviation parking area or landing zone. You got your bunkers pretty close by, and believe it or not, aside from knowing this is in Vietnam, a lot of these HLZs are not much different than what guys would experience in Afghanistan from the earlier years of the conflict. You always had a bunker quite close to the HLZ because the HLZ was a magnet for indirect fire, and they like to shoot at helicopters when they come in and out.
Oh yeah. Oh, Echo Company. Who's this? For that's you.
Yeah, this is
one-
one of the unit signs from Echo Company 3187. And you notice they've got their air mobile designation on there. So, this is post 1968. There were a few months there, and I have one photo in there it says 101st Air Cavalry. There were a few months there where it did say 101st Air Cavalry, but my understanding is that the commanding general went back and fought and had the designation changed to 101st Airborne Division Air Mobile.
Yeah.
And it only lasted a few months, the 101st Air Cavalry Division.
Get ready for this. I have orders that say on top, 101st Airborne Division Air Mobile Air Cavalry. All three, November 1968. I'm going to put that on Facebook next week. Hey, I got something for you. You got to leave me your name and address besides giving you a book.
I sure will.
Yeah, there you go. And a couple other rocket sounds out there. Any other rocket sounds, you just send us a message and I'll get you a.
I know several.
There you go. Send me their names too. Yeah. We got plenty of stuff here, man.
What's really interesting is the 101st, like I said, started out as a paratrooper division when they were deployed with the 1st Brigade. But it was a very large and complicated ordeal to transition the division when in combat from a paratrooper division with a battalion, I guess, of aircraft to a air cavalry or air mobile division with its own organic aircraft for each of its units that form a direct support relationship. That was a tremendous effort to bring in those aircraft, certify and train the crews, develop TTPs, as well as, basically rewrite the division's procedures to include that new aviation component, all in contact with the enemy. That's just a testament to the professionalism of the division at the time.
Oh, absolutely. They're ready to go anytime. That was our slogan. We'd salute. You see an officer, you say airborne, sir, all the way. He'd go, ready to go. You go, yes, sir, airborne. Like there you go, ready to go. It's a kind of a, I don't know. It's a little kind of a frat or a special thing where it's just special, man. You got that brotherhood, you got that ego, you got that inherent patriotism, and probably 10 other things I could list for young men to join up, and some even got drafted at our time, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But unbelievable, excellent service. One of the biggest things that problem we had in Vietnam, we had what you understand as a leg replacement on the unqualified airborne. In other words, paratrooper.
Yeah.
We had guys dropping mortar rounds on the trail because they didn't want to carry ammo.
I'm sorry?
We had guys dropping mortar rounds, 81 millimeter mortar rounds on the trail because they didn't want to carry them.
Yeah, soldiers are a very how should I put this, inventive lot when it comes to getting over on what they're always asked to do, and sometimes that's a real detriment. But it's that's one of those things that I can tell you that ammo is not one of those things that I want to be short of.
Yeah. Not only that, but like kind of we went over as all volunteers. Nothing against guys who got drafted, because some draftees were, a lot of draftees were great soldiers, but some people just did not want to fight the war, and then they had their peace signs on their helmet and the whole deal. You know what I mean? And they would actually let you know what was going on, and we had to keep up our esprit de corps, man. You know what I mean? And our camaraderie. It wasn't happening with people who kind of brought that infiltration of lack of desire and not being gung-ho like the rest of us. It was really a sad situation, which we had to not only fight the enemy, but try to keep the guys in your own squad or fire team on, up to par. Crazy.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that swagger and bravado you talked about comes from being well trained. And when you are well trained and you're well trained and you trust in the people with you, it kind of develops that sense of swagger and invincibility. So my time in the Army is all post draft era, all volunteers, and it really is believing in the team you're with and believing in your own training that brings you the confidence to do the job. This is a pretty interesting photo. I mean, it's a later photo because it's colorized, but when I got the photos from 1st Brigade separate from the gentleman, I noticed most of the howitzers in the pictures were all M101s that were, late World War II, 50s design with a split trail. And this one appears to be an M102, which would have been a later howitzer. It's got a kind of a Y-shaped yoke on it. But what's interesting is how they've got it rigged with the load there, the secondary load, kind of as a counterbalance for the artillery piece. A lot of times now they'll sling load the howitzer, and then they'll have a secondary sling load for any sort of ammunition or any other equipment that goes with it. So it's not really rigged on one hook per se like this. It's rigged with a howitzer and then another pendant below it, typically of ammunition. Got the Cav, which was a pretty unique formation in Vietnam. You have gunships, you have scout helicopters, and then you have infantry that are to exploit the reconnaissance of the aircraft. And you'll notice, I think this particular photo says Air Mobile right here, but 217 Cavalry. So since Vietnam, that has kind of transformed, and it's now moved away from scout helicopters, and it's now Apache based. So it has AH-64 gunships, and they utilize a drone, which is linked to the aircraft to provide the scout helicopter mode, and they're all linked electronically and digitally. So the pilots of the drone and the pilots of the aircraft can communicate and target. This is something that probably any infantryman back in the day would really recognize, and it's a flight of slicks coming in. This is a 1st Brigade separate photo that unidentified photographer took, but it really speaks to the essence of air mobility, where you have those aircraft that are going to come in and pick up infantry and go out and do what they have to do. This is one of my favorite photos. This is it's such a dramatic photo, and Ron, I was talking with your son before we went on. This is a 250 photo, but I really don't know. I have to wonder if the photographer knew he was taking such a fantastic photo when he took the picture. And I'm going to assume this is an extraction because I see 2 aircraft, and it looks like he's kind of waiting for the aircraft to touch down. But it's a fantastic photo with the lighting, the sun, and the the soldiers silhouetted waiting to get on the aircraft. I can hear that.
Yeah,
it looks. Hear the blades popping as they're coming in my head. That's a sound no one forgets.
Yeah, not only that, you see the reflection off the blades from the back the chopper in the back.
Yes, yeah, and a little bit of looks like maybe it could be steam, it could be dust. The rotor wash from a
No,
from a Huey
rotor wash. There you go.
rotor
That's
wash
what it
from a
is.
Huey can, depending on where it's landing, can be pretty pretty thick, depending on the pitch of the blades. This is a really interesting picture. And again, it shows the troopers hopping out, and it looks like it was either maybe a demoed LZ. It could have been a B-52 that dropped bombs and created the HLZ, but they're hopping out in an unimproved HLZ, and it almost looks like the the guy on the left side of the bird is getting a hand out, but I really think that's the back of the guy. It's on the opposite side that's coming off the other skid.
You're right. But how about the machine gunner? Check out the guy in the chopper.
Yeah, he's checking the.
He's engaged. He's engaged.
Probably
Yeah,
looking to make sure that they're off and off the skids and make sure there's nothing left on the aircraft and they're gone.
exactly. But that was
Next job.
Yeah, it was great. Great picture. Boy, gosh. All right, here we go. Medevacs. They suck. Not really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, the problem with a medevac is if you see a medevac, somebody's had a really a bad day. But these.
And the commies used to shoot back. Commies used to shoot them down. They had nothing to do with the Geneva Convention. They
Yes.
didn't care.
I was let me think. I'm trying to put it together whom I was talking. I know it was one of the applicants for the badge had sent some psyop leaflets in that you know were pictures of the psyops leaflets, and one of them was trying to convince the NVA and the Viet Cong not to shoot at the medevac aircraft, telling them, hey, look, these are evacing your people and our people. Let's both agree not to shoot down the medevac aircraft because they didn't carry guns. They still don't carry guns. I mean, they have personal weapons, but they don't have door guns. And if they're not escorted with some type of armed escort, it's really the pilot's skill that keeps it intact, keeps it flying. I'm going to say for a Huey pilot, that's a pretty tricky maneuver there, because unlike a lot of the new helicopters where they have a lot of electronic aids to help you fly the helicopter, a Huey, you really had to be on the stick and pedals and collective to keep it where you wanted it. So it's kind of a testament to the skill of those early pilots that they were able to do some of the maneuvers they did and fly in the conditions they did. And this is all pre-night vision. Now helicopters predominantly fly at night, and we fly with night vision goggles and a very high skill level with those pilots that are doing it. But in Vietnam, they were flying without night vision. So if they were flying at night, took a lot of guts to fly a helicopter at night when you really can't see everything that you would like to see to fly. So a lot of respect for those pilots.
Well, Randall, I got to tell you, we're going to call it up because thank you so much for all the. We're going to have you back on the show because there's too much of information in your body.
I appreciate your time, Ron. The big thing I want folks to take away is
no problem.
The badge, they got to get it in before May 1st.
I'll see. Oh yes, right. I agree with that. And I put it up. We're putting it on our Facebook pages and our emails and our what do you call it? Websites. So
thank you.
I'm not the techiest guy in the world. You got it, brother. Thank you all the way. Air assault.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, my man.
Are we done?
So this is our new website here, fallenneverforgotten.com. We have all kinds of pages of videos and branches of service, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and even Vietnam era music videos. You can subscribe to our YouTube page or visit our shop. We have all kinds of great things in there as well. Lots of great gifts. Then you can check out our book, Fallen Never Forgotten, Vietnam Memorials in the USA. It makes a great gift. It is a tribute to the men and women who never came home from the war that we never forget. We also have original content on the site, some articles in the news section, and you can watch episodes and highlights from the Veterans Live show right here on the Fallen Never Forgotten Network's website. And this is a favorite of a lot of people, the Vietnam Veteran Jukebox, Vietnam era music, with the public domain footage from our time in Vietnam edited together. And that's pretty cool. With, you know, guys in the jungle, planes flying over, helicopter assaults, you name it. And last, but certainly not least, we are making a Vietnam War timeline. You can look up major events that occurred in the war here by date. We're currently adding more dates every day, so there's certainly some information you guys are all going to appreciate. Hello? Okay, I hope you all enjoyed the new website. We put a lot of time into it, and we are expected to be a great wealth of information to you and the younger generation for years to come. And once again, the website is fallenneverforgotten.com. Matt, could you hear me? Hello, could you hear me, Matt? Who's that?
Can you hear me, Ron?
Yes, you're on the air.
There you go. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. Probably my fault.
Nothing like old age getting into forgetfulness. Sorry about that. Okay, let's go with the photos. Matt, bring the photos on. I don't know how I got back into this. This is great. Oh, that's one of my guys taking off from, that's our first combat assault. Yep. I kept the camera in my pocket. I got about 100, 200 pictures, no problem. That was in Cu Chi, Vietnam, 1968. Next picture, please.
That's a 1st Brigade separate photo that I got from the gentleman. It kind of shows that M102 coming in with field artillery units.
Nice. I never rode in one of those. All right, there we go.
Classy ride.
There's my first combat assault. Taking pictures with my Instamatic camera. The 60 hanging off the side of the open door, and his buddies behind us coming up. Oh my God. First combat assault, man. That was like, you didn't know what to expect. Some guys were nervous, some guys were happy. Now, what do you got next, Matt?
This is I think this is a 151st photo, and the photographer caught it. It looks like it's sitting flat, but it's actually frozen the blades. And I think it's showing the offloading of some equipment, and it looks like they're getting ready to onload some other things. So, like I said earlier, I don't know if it's, I wouldn't think it's under duress because it's on the ground and everybody's standing up, but it certainly is a great representation of infantry and aviation working in concert in the Air Mobile Division.
Amen. There you go. Very good.
The Chinook, it's one, you know, I like it because it's got a lot of room and you can stretch out and you're not all cramped up like you are in some of the other aircraft. You know, our experience in Blackhawks in the Gulf War was, you know, they have an ACL of 11 and we had like 17 people and a bunch of crap in there. So it was really, really jam packed. So anytime I got to ride in a Chinook, I felt like I was getting a limo ride because I had all this room. But this is a great picture of a Pathfinder bringing in a load. What's that, Ron?
Yeah, Hueys were not Hueys are not net jets. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
net jets are private.
We still had a few Hueys in my early days, and I always felt privileged to get to ride in them. They were awesome.
I hear you. Okay, who we got here? Check this out. Looks like a fire base of some sort up in a mountain.
Yeah, I think it is a fire base because it looks like all the brush and everything's been cut down to a really small level. And I'm guessing that they're going to get on to go out and do a mission. It looks like maybe a pickup because, you know, the door gunner's guns are down and he's kind of sitting back. So I have a feeling they're going to pick up a load of troopers to go out and do a mission.
There you go. Right. Good observation. Next, Matt. All right, here we go. Load up. Oh, there we go. This is
so you can just barely make out the loach behind the sign. You can make out the loach back there behind the sign, which is, you know, kind of an iconic aircraft of its own that, you know, is a version of it is still in use, which, you know, the 160th SOAR has their little birds, which are kind of a refinement of the original loach, but pretty amazing little helicopters.
I was always saying to myself, what the hell is that thing doing up there? You know, like, but they were buzzing around like doing commo and ammo. I mean, observation, right? That's what they were for.
Yeah, wait for somebody to shoot at them so they can, you know, bring the gunships in, which is pretty intense job.
Pretty brazen, yeah, right. Man, you got
pretty intense job. I'm going to fly around until somebody shoots at me.
Also, tires called Guliones or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some CJ Jones going on there flying in a load.
All right, what do you got next, Matt? VIP parking. I can't make out that sign. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is a Don F. Pratt photo that I got, and it's you know, your brigade, and you'll notice it says Air Cavalry on the sign. And what I thought was pretty cool is it looks like a hard stand HLZ, and they got bunkers there for the aircraft to kind of land up in. So pretty interesting photo. A lot of small details there. You know, it's kind of lost forever on who's actually getting off those aircraft, but it's pretty cool. Somebody out there in Facebook knows where that photo was taken, I'm sure.
Yeah, so you don't know. Okay. All right, here we go. This is it. Bastogne. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so of interest, I kind of like this photo because it's got a picture of the mule behind the company's, the CP sign, which is kind of, you know, that what's old is new again. So currently the Army is working through the bugs and testing kind of a robotic version of the mule, if you will, that will kind of fill that role. And it's, you know, controlled wirelessly, and they can drive it and everything, but it looks a lot like a mule, and it performs a lot of the same function, you know, to move heavy stuff for the ground soldiers so they don't have to carry it.
Right. That oh boy, here we go. Firebase Bastogne was one of the only other friendly fire incidents that I recall. I might be wrong, with the 101st Airborne Division in Vietnam. We had the Gander crash in the 80s, which killed 250 troopers. But on March 26, 68, 9 mortar rounds fell short on our company, B Company, 1st to the 502nd, and killed 13 guys and wounded 22 of us. And that's when I saw fire by Bastogne. That was the only other friendly fire incident that's listed that I found in my research from the Vietnam War, which is pretty sad.
Wow.
Okay, next, we got questions here, Matt. We got Jim Kwasniewski. That's a hard name.
Jim watching in Colorado Springs.
There you go. And we got Fran Sparrow. My husband repelled on the fire triple canopy jungle.
Boonie hat instead of steel pot.
Oh yeah, that's tough. That must have been like a recon outfit, because we in the infantry unit you had to wear your steel pots in the field.
Yeah, even in reconnaissance, I spent a fair amount of time in my time in the scout platoon or in a reconnaissance unit, and a lot of times when we were on patrol, we wear a soft cap. We always carried a helmet for airborne operations. When I was a Pathfinder, we would use a helmet for fast rope operations, which is kind of the new rappelling, if you will. What the Army's doing now is mostly fast rope, but it is still a viable, and the Air Assault School still teaches rappelling today. So every soldier that's trained gets trained how to rappel.
There you go. Next one, Matt. My husband was 101st Airborne, 1st to the 506. Very good. He's deceased. God bless his soul. And I would love to know more. Fran Sprout.
Yeah. So originally, when this, as I said earlier, it kind of has changed a little bit since it first started. Originally, it was directed entirely at surviving veterans of the war who are out there. But if you want to apply on behalf of your husband, go to the website, www.screamingeagle.org, and you can click on the Air Assault Wings there. That's actually a link, and it'll give you the downloadable form. And when you fill it out, you're going to put your husband's information, but for the address, an email, telephone number, you're going to list yours. And we just ask that you write, at the top of the form before you send it in, that you write posthumous, and then put your name and, say, he was my husband, he was my brother, my father. And we're trying very hard to cover all the eventualities, but the form was not originally, we'd already put it out before the issue of a posthumous award came up. So we just asked that you write on the form posthumous when you send it in.
That's good cover. Thank you very much. Really well done. Okay, well, next, Joe Roby. Will receiving the air assault birds require updated Vietnam version? The updated version of the DD-214, or is just an honorary badge?
No, it is an honorarium. The division commander of the 101st is authorized to award honorary badges to Vietnam veterans, but it's not a retroactive award of the badge for Vietnam veterans. So, it will not be added to their official military records or their DD-214. It is an honorarium.
I think honor. The word honor means more than DD-214 to me.
I understand the desire, and frankly, I'm thrilled that there's as much interest as there is, because I'm obviously a later soldier. I wasn't in Vietnam, but we from the time I showed up to the division in 1990, we felt like we were standing on the shoulders of the Vietnam guys. So I think it's a great thing that by honoring their air mobile service in Vietnam with the division and all the great things that they've done to develop air assault, that we're able to connect the Vietnam veteran with the today's Screaming Eagle soldier that's an air assault soldier.
Amen to that. And like, not only that, let me tell you what, back in 2010, I think it was a 40-year, again, on rough numbers, 40 years out of Vietnam for us, that they had a call back to Fort Campbell for all the Vietnam veterans. And we lined up outside that big hangar. And
Yes, sir.
marched in, thousands of us came in there. And this reminds me of that. And I know it's 10, 11 years since, but hopefully most of the guys are still around to gather this and put it in their little feather in their cap. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Kilo 19 says the hillsides look hammered. Yeah, I imagine between us trying to clear all the vegetation, that looks like it was a combination of defoliated and probably cleared with some sort of explosives. But yeah, contested ground for sure.
Kilo's a good guy. We got to get him on the show. He knows he's very active. We got to bring him out into the public eye here.
One thing
Randall,
for sure, when you look at all those photos, it just kind of brings you in. Obviously, Ron, it brings your memories back. But even being a later generation veteran, when I see those photos, it takes me to a very similar place in different times. The job has changed. The designation of the unit may have changed. Uniforms have adapted and everything, but the job is still largely the same. So it's fantastic that there's all this in common.
It started back in the 90s. We used to have our reunions at Thayer Hotel at West Point every December for the Bastogne reunion.
Yes.
And then in Memorial Day, we'd have it at the Sheraton in Arlington for the weekend there. And there was always a sign up. And the sign said, if you wore the patch, you're welcome.
Yeah. Right now, we just posted it up, but our national capital chapter, which has run the Memorial Day events in Washington, D.C. for many years. That's where our division's monument is, outside the gates of Arlington. They are driving ahead with planning Memorial Day events this year. So if you're out there and in the national capital area, they're going to be out there. They're going to have a hospitality room at the Sheraton Pentagon City, and you can find the information for the Memorial Day events for the National Capital Chapter of the 101st Airborne Division Association. So they would welcome you into the fold.
Yeah, I wrote them already and got an answer, tentative if they're planning it, as well as Thunder Rally there by the State Department off of Pennsylvania Avenue, where they have all those vendors in there. We're in there every year to sell our books. Matthew and I published 2 books about the Vietnam War. One's about a paratrooper, one's about the fallen, never forgotten guys who never made a home from Vietnam. And by the way, we're going to send you a copy of that book. Where is it? Let me get you to show you a picture of that there. Here it is, right here, man. It's going to come in the mail to you. So before you hang up,
That's awesome.
Send Matt your This is a state by state, one memorial from each state. Tells you how the memorial got built, how they got the money, who did the sculptures, who did the landscape architecture, and then we list alphabetically all the guys who never came home from Vietnam. There's a few
That's
women.
a tremendous undertaking, Ron. How many years did it take you to complete that?
Well, Matt was the publishing guy. I was the research guy. Took only about 6-7 months.
Wow.
Well, from in August, no, maybe I'm wrong. August to April, then looks like 10 months. But the research, it wasn't the research time. It was like the waiting for the publisher too. Though, so I don't think that counts. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But, other than that, thank you, my brother. God bless you. Airborne all the way, air assault, and welcome home.
I appreciate you, Ron. Thanks for having me on. Again, anybody interested in the badge, go to www.screamingeagle.org and click on the air assault badge on the homepage. And just a reminder, for this year, we have to have your application before May 1st in order to get it done on the timeline for this year. So there's only about 10 days left. So thanks.
We're going to put it on our websites and our Facebook pages.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it, brother. Thank you very much. Take care.
Air assault.
Airborne. I love it.